So it's on the screen. Nikolai, it's all yours. Hello, colleague. I'm Nikolai Ludnikov. I will tell you today about the application of DLT and blockchain in post-trade services. The DLT technology offers a number of advantages compared to traditional information systems architecture. The basic principle of the technology include decentralization, distributed nature, security, transparency, and immutability of data. Blockchain opens up the possibility to create new products together with other market participants and fintech companies. I think the previous speaker pointed to the same benefits. The application of blockchain with many participants of equal status ensures more efficient information exchange and delivery of values in the situation of untrusted environment with minimum of intermediaries. It also opens up new markets and types of assets. The boom of NFT that we witnessed in the beginning of this year is now diminishing. Over the last months, the market reduced 10 times, but NFT token market will remain, and who knows which new markets will emerge in future. If we miss the new trend, we can continue to just be catching up with the leaders. This is a schematic depiction of something that digital assets allow for. In particular, it's a quite different logic for processing the same assets based on different business processes compared to what we are used to. The new types of assets allow for more flexibility and better convenience for market participants. The next slide, please. Just a few years ago, the development of blockchain technologies was continued under the slogan of elimination of financial intermediaries, in particular banks. The idea was that the use of blockchain will allow us to get rid of services of many traditional financial institutions. These intermediaries historically create a trusted environment. So they do the same thing as blockchain theoretically allows for. ISA as association includes many professional participants of the financial market. Association is continuously tracking the development of DLT in finance. It is clear that the expectation of elimination of traditional participants such as custodians, intermediaries, and centralized counterparties were overestimated. They will continue to play a role if only for elimination of conflict of interest. Contracts, it also allows for smart contracts and processing of corporate actions. The use of smart contracts may allow for more automation of corporate actions and even make them self-servicing. You can even expect new types of corporate actions and events which are specific to DLT and tokenization. One example is so-called fork, which changed the way that networks operate. This is why you need to be very careful about the rules of network operation and any changes that you make to that. The report also describes different assets, how crypto assets need to be stored. The crypto key was to be stored as a long succession of symbols and letters. There are cases when compromised or lost crypto keys resulted to $1 million of losses. This is what prompted the so-called crypto custody service. As the new forms of digital financial assets emerge, not only cryptocurrencies, the crypto custody services continue to develop. The next slide, please. Now let's move from theory to practice and focus on some interesting products based on distributed ledger. The Swiss exchange FIX created SDX to put to market the new digital system based on distributed ledger. SDX will keep full control of access of participants to the network. In order to ensure custody of assets, it uses the hardware safety module, which makes the system more secure. For the central depository, at the top of the infrastructure of distributed ledger, an application is set for customer accounts. SDX uses the model for atomic transactions. It uses private stable coin fully secured by fiat currency based on SDX platform in the Central Bank of Switzerland. Also, another project is interesting, that is Australian Exchange, and the idea is to fully replace the information system of clearing and settlements, or to replace it with distributed ledger system. It started in 2016, and it's one of the most long-standing projects. Among the benefits, there are quicker clearing, quicker settlements, and the cost saving. Traditional securities are immobilized in the ISX system. It does not have its own stable coin, unlike the SX case. The system, as is expected, will support ISO 2022 standard. Next one. Now to the NSD experience. This slide demonstrates the main activities of the National Settlements Depository with DLT. Our interaction with the DLT was started in 2015 when the blockchain lab was established. We had a project in e-proxy voting, the first blockchain-based corporate debt obligation system, the first corporate bonds, and the first three-party repo system. We have a rating of 10 companies that actively, we were included in the Forbes Blockchain 50. NSD continues to develop blockchain technologies, which is especially relevant because in Russia we have a special regulation for digital financial services, which was put in place since the beginning of this year. And also the Central Bank of Russia is planning to issue digital ruble. The next one. Let's look at the distributed ecosystem project for commodity markets. Russia is one of the leading wheat exporter, and the industry has optimization possibilities. Trading in grain has some risks, and this project implies an ecosystem that will ensure deliveries of grain with quality control. It covers the whole life cycle from the forecast yield and farmer credits all the way to final buyer transaction. These the warehousing certificates can be tokenized, which simplified settlements with for trade with grain. All this is accessible to market participants and allows for very appropriate and accurate accounting throughout the movement of the asset. This does not ensure against incorrect physical accounting of grain at the silos. When you implement the system on the financial market level, you need to also implement control of the basic asset. It means that it must be realistic. If you look at the grain, it means that the silos should have the required amount of quality of the required quality. The Moscow Exchange Group faced this risk in 2019. The way we see the near future of the infrastructure of digital financial services, the market will offer a number of networks that will issue and account for digital assets. Those can be public networks such as blockchain and private networks of central depositories, banks, or other companies. These networks will operate on different distributed ledger platforms, and the needs of the financial markets will be relevant for the digital platforms as well. We're building infrastructure for digital assets that will allow us to interact with participants of different roles and functions. We want to simplify the putting to market of different services through clearly understood principles of interaction, while broadening the spectrum of services for our customers. The possibility to link multiple blockchain networks on different platforms will address the problem of atomized transactions with assets in multiple networks. In this way, we will become infrastructure hub for digital financial environment, in particular, first of all, for the Russian market, and we're also interested in international markets as well. Next one, please. Next slide, please. This is a description of one particular case of digital assets issue in the digital environment. I will not go into detail. It's just a prototype. We're still working on that. That's more or less what I wanted to say. Let me just conclude that blockchain really opens up good prospects for the development of financial environment. I'm also sure that it is not anything revolutionary, meaning that it will not radically change the composition or the mix of financial market players, but it will make new types of financial assets more accessible and available. It makes access to new participants, for new participants to the market easier and simpler, including fintech companies, and it will also allow for taking advantage of new digital technologies. Nikolai, thank you very much for this interesting presentation. There's one question, stablecoin, what it means. It's a tokenized currency that is actually an obligation of a particular company, mostly private, to pay the bearer of security a certain amount in fiat currency. In particular, private banks such as Sberbank of Russia may issue its Sber ruble, so to speak, that will be secured by the fiat currency on a correspondent account with the central bank. So it is a token that constitutes an obligation, not on the part of the central bank, but a private company that can be secured, not secured by real money, depending on how it works. Thank you, Nikolai. We don't have any more questions yet.